a few weeks of rains, but we're doing quite okay at this point. And how is everyone in Nairobi?
Nairobi, we are very fine. It's a bit cold. So we are moving out of the cold season to go into our hot season. And we are very fine in Nairobi. Thank you very much. Pichaya, the chief executive is joining. Okay, fine.
Lovely. Charles, if Dr. Marube is here, he can please go ahead.
Just give him some few seconds. He's joining.
Wilfred Marube, we're pleased to have you here, and we look forward to your opening remark for this training on Trade Map and Market Access Map. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for those introductions. Kindly accept my apologies for joining in the meeting late. I was struggling to get through the internet. I wish to state that as an agency, we are very happy with this partnership between the ITC and KEPROBA towards empowering our members and our colleagues to be able to carry out market analysis. As you are aware, what COVID has shown us is that most of the work actually needs to be done on the desktop. And the other thing, as an agency, we have realized that we need to have as many staff as possible, having the skills and the ability to be able to get market intelligence and market information. And I do believe that this particular training will actually be a good step towards empowering the organization and also increasing skills among our staff across the functions. This is a particular training even for myself as a CEO, I'm very keen on attending. So I'm very glad that it's happening. And I do believe that this is not just a one-off training, but you'll work with us the entire journey until you feel that we have the required competence to be able to do that. I'll be happy on the day that all our 87 members of staff would be able to carry out market analysis. By then, I do believe we'll be able to add value to our members and to the export sector. With those very few remarks, I wish you all the best in this particular training. And I do believe that you're going to learn quite a lot. And then we put all this to application. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Dr. Wilfred Marube, for your kind words. And likewise, ITC is here to support KEPROBA in any way it can to build the capacity of its staff to carry out market analysis and provide value-added services to the Kenyan exporters and importers. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to our trainers. Today, you will be led by Ms. Maria Sokolova, who will be the lead trainer, and supported by Mr. Adou, who will be responding to your questions in the chat box. So do not hesitate to submit your question in the chat box. Adam will reply to your questions accordingly. So please, Maria, please go ahead. Thank you very much.
Sasha, ladies and gentlemen, asante for giving me this opportunity to train you today on one of our leading tools, the Trademark. Just bear with me for a second while I'm doing technical, when I'm starting to share my screen. Yes, it should be working now. Okay. So today is the first half of a two-day training that we're doing this week for KEPROBA. Tomorrow you will be having a training on market access map with my colleagues. Today, me and Adam, who is ready to answer your questions in the chat, or he will collect your questions and we will answer them afterwards, after the presentation and the live demo. So please do not hesitate to submit any queries, any questions or queries that you might have. So what is Trademark? Further in the live demo, this will be our landing page, and I will show how to use it. But Trademap is the tool that exists the longest in ITC, and it's online user-friendly application to analyze global trade flows based on the largest database that we have collected on the trade flows from all over the world. It exists over 20 years now, and it has collected over 1 million users. So Trademap can answer different questions. What is the level of global market demand for my product? Who are the fastest growing markets in the world market? Who are the main importing or exporting countries for a certain product or in a certain region or for a certain country? Which companies import my product in a given market? And what is the most interesting market for my product? So as you can see, these all questions relate to the analysis of trade flows and competitiveness. This is what we're going to cover today, but as we are constrained with time, we're only going to concentrate on selecting the most attractive market for your product and how you can, what kind of logic you can follow when you're looking for the most attractive market for your product. The presentation today, before we go to the live demo, so will be structured in the following way. I'll give you a couple of facts, the key facts about Trademap that you need to know when you're using it. It's always useful to know what you're dealing with when you're using it, especially when you haven't been there from the very beginning. Starting up in Trademap. So if you're a first-time user, how do you actually go around about using Trademap? How to set it up and how to actually acquire the possibility of doing the request in Trademap. Then the next three parts will actually be the part of the demo, and they will be the following. We will go through how to identify the appropriate HS code for your product in Trademap. As a lot of experience of ITC shows, identifying appropriate trade code is the cornerstone of the appropriate trade analysis that will be done. How to analyze demand for your product. So reading the basic Trademap results, and also how to assess the target market, how to look around other possible markets. Who are your competitors? What are the competition situation in the markets where you are selling or where your competitors are selling? This 3 bits will actually be replicated in the online demo. So I'll first take you through the presentation quickly, and then we will play with Trademap and see how it actually works in the real life. So key facts about Trademap. We'll try to go very quickly about it. We cover information for over 220 countries and territories, and we collect information for as minimum from 2001. We do cover many countries that do not officially submit information through mirror statistics. So there's not that many gaps in our data, and I will cover what is mirror statistics shortly. Product-wise, for the globally accepted, globally used 6-digit HS code level, we cover about 5,300 products. And at the national tariff line level, therefore a much more detailed level, we cover over 10,000 products, albeit for not over 200 countries, but about 180 countries. The data sources are vast. We work with many national statistical offices globally, and we also cooperate with UN Comtrade, that database, which is produced by the United Nations Statistical Division. Therefore, it's mandated to work with all the countries also. So, as everyone, the usual question that we get is, how often is the data updated? How frequently can I see the changes? How accurate is that is? So, first of all, we update all our data at minimum once a year, and we update it as fast as we get the most recent information for the annual data at the tariff line level. and we update as frequently as we get monthly and quarterly data. So it's pretty rapid. Twice a year, we update the information on trade and services statistics and the indicators, the part that I'm going to be using to show you how to select your attractive markets. They are updated 4 times a year, so quarterly. That is what I can tell you about the updates today. The thing that I mentioned, how we deal with data gaps, is by using mirror data. There can be 2 types of trade statistics that exist globally. Direct data, as it goes from the name, comes directly from the source or from the UN Comtrade, therefore from the source through the UN Comtrade. But there can also be mirror data. This is the data that we reconstruct on the basis of data reported by direct flows. Let me show you a quick example. For example, here, Australia is the reporting country. We receive information for Australia. And we know that Australia is trading with Iran, but Iran is not reporting its trade statistics. Therefore, through using data on exports and imports of Australia to Iran, we can reconstruct export and import data for Iran. So the more countries we have reporting, the fewer gaps we have by being able to construct mirror data, because if the countries trade to each other. As in this example, you can see, we cannot construct the data for the countries that are secondary to reporting country. So if Iran is trading to Myanmar, we will not be able to know about this trade flows. But as we're covering, as we're getting like direct data from many sources, we are covering almost virtually the whole world with this. So very common question that we also get is about what is the value of, what is the currency? How do we calculate the value? So we convert all the trade flows, all the information about the trade flows that we're getting to United States dollars. Because in different countries, there are different currencies used. It's very useful when you are comparing trade flows between different countries. If you want to compare, if your Apple industry is growing as fast as Indonesian Apple industry to Vietnam, you need to have a comparable unit of measure, which in this case are dollars. And we are using the interbank exchange rates to find these as a source of the exchange rate. So you can also use, you're welcome to use the source to convert it back to the other currencies that you may be needing for your analysis. So an example of how we actually construct, mirror data is presented here. Okay, so Australia became China. Beg your pardon for such a very sudden change of identity. China is the reporting country here in this example. We have information about imports from Iran reported by China to us. And we know that the invoice value was $920. The insurance was $20, freight rate paid $60. So the CIF value that was reported by China was 1,000. Through the methodologies that we're using in Trademark, and to make it all comparable across each other, we are using a free on board value for export, which is lower than the CIF value by exactly the insurance and the freight paid. So by having the CIF value, we can roll back to what was the invoice value of the FOB, of the free on board value from Iran. And therefore, our methodology will give us that the export value of Iran was $920. So following these rather simple steps, when you have the elements of this data, which we collect globally, you are able to fill in these gaps through constructing mirror data. This is a very useful, and because we do it in the same way for all the countries, you can use our data from Trademark to compare different situations in different countries, because the methodology is the same. So let's go further to starting up in Trademark. I will take you to the home page of Trademark. This is how it's going to look like. The first thing you need to do, you need to register. Registration gives you access to various characteristics of Trademark that are not available for non-registered users, and it's a really simple, a couple of 2-5 minute task to do. Then you need to choose goods or services. Beg your pardon, that's a typo. Goods or services you're looking at. Are you looking into the trade of goods or trade of services? Then you need to choose if you are looking into the imports or exports. Depending on what kind of analysis you want to perform, you want to start with either one of them. Next thing that you are invited to do is to choose a product that you want to look at. Once you've chosen the product, you need to choose the country. So in our case today, we will be looking at Kenya. And once you have chosen these two parameters, you are invited to also add a partner country. So if your analysis involves looking at the, for example, trade of Kenya to India, you can go straight ahead and choose the partner country. Otherwise, you can actually start from a more aggregate request of just looking at Kenyan exports of that certain product in general. There are several available tabs in your request which you can use, and I would invite you to play around after today's training. But today, because for the sake of time, we will only concentrate on the trade indicators tab, on the first one. The other tabs also cover yearly time series, quarterly and monthly, and we also provide information on the companies, but this we can either cover in further trainings, or you can find it out yourself and use our tutorials that are available on YouTube. So once you have filled in this information, you will do the search. And once you click on the trade indicators, this is what I did here, you will get a lot of data. That's why you came to Trademark originally. You came to see data on trade flows. So let's just go through the colors that you can be seeing, and then I'll show them to you again in the live demo. So first of all, the purplish color actually represents the overall world aggregation of export, in our particular case, of export of this product. Then the red doesn't mean it's bad, it's just a negative value of trade balance that has been calculated for this particular country. In this case, it's Egypt in 2016 in dollars, in thousands of dollars. The next color that we use is the yellow grayish, or in this case, actually was Kenya, which represents the mirror data. This is our data. We do have data for Kenya for those years and for the further on. So yellow information is the mirror data. As I have explained to you before, it's the constructed value of statistics. The next one is the green values. The green values are quantities estimated by the United Nations Statistical Department. The darker green ones are the quantities estimated by ITC. In one thing about quantities, and we'll cover it shortly, that quantities can also be used for a market analysis to determining market share. You can be the biggest exporter by value or by volume. So the also important thing that you have to be knowledgeable of is being aware of this I sign. The I sign actually gets you to the metadata. The metadata is basically information about the data. So when you click, and I'll show it to you how it's done. When you click on this I, you will get information on where this data is coming from, or what kind of methodology was used to for this particular country or product or value. So let's go now to reading the results in TradeMap. And the first and the most important thing, as I told you, in TradeMap is to correctly find your HS code to do the correct search. Taking you very briefly through HS codes, they are structured, like the HS system is structured in the same manner all over the world. It's a 2-digit chapter, 4-digit headings, 6-digit subheadings, and then it could be then the more detailed national tariff lines. The way it actually works is that the national tariff lines are exclusively country specific. There is no guarantee that the same 6 digits will be followed with the same numbers in one country and another will represent the same product. They could differ. So here is an example. So when we go through the chapter and heading and subheading, we get to from the overall drinking coffee, tea, mate, and spices to tea, to the more precise green tea in small packaging, so not exceeding 3 kilograms. But then once we go away from the 6-digit code here, and we'll look into different countries that use this code, but then they create their national tariff lines, we see that the numbers and like the products differ there. So when it finishes by 10, it's the flavored green tea in packaging 3 kg. Unflavored is in the 90. Then in Japan, it's the product that is actually assigned to the group 00 is the not fermented green tea in packages not exceeding 3 kilograms. And then, so as there is no uniform of what kind of product and how it can be split. So here we have a split flavored and flavored. So cherry green tea or plain green tea, for example, or even green tea that doesn't taste like green tea. Here we're looking at the fermentation process, which has, to my knowledge, not that much to do with flavors, like it could go different ways. Then once again, in the US, we already look into the also non-fermented, so we can think, oh, it's like Japan, so it should be 00. But then no, it's actually, they're looking for the certified, not flavored. So you see the combination of these specific product characteristics can differ country by country. So when working with the more detailed data in TradeMap, so the one that gives you over 10,000 products globally, you need to be careful about which kind of product from which country to which you are looking at. So TradeMap mostly uses the 6-digit HS codes, and we do keep track of the revision of the HS classification. As you can see here, for this example for the fresh cherries, just a simple fruit, berry. I think it's, I don't know. I think it's a berry. So the simple berry has actually existed as the same product in the 3 core versions of HS classification. So 1996, 2002, 2007, whereas in 2012, it was actually modified. So the product, the existence of the cherry stayed the same. The classification changed. So the group of 0, 8, 0, 9, 20 was split into two different products, where one of them became fresh cherries excluding sour cherries, and then the other one became sour cherries, prunos cherazos. So it's very important for you to see how your product was modified. For the trade indicators, as it's written on the screen, we use 2012 revision, whereas you can go into time series to the new modifications and see new and more detailed, because in this case it got split, so it's more detailed information about your product. You have to check it for the product that you're looking at, and to check that, you need to click to the reference material tab, which is available here in the top bar. So, summarizing what you need to remember, the key things, not everything, but the key things you need to remember about looking for the appropriate HS code is that you need to do some due diligence in figuring out what HS code is correct for you, for your trade analysis, and what is the history of this HS code in your country or in different revisions of the HS classification. Trademark data is consistent, but the revisions can actually change what you're looking at. You need to, again, look through what were the revisions and then either stay on the trade indicators tab with the 2012 revision, or go into other tabs for the more detailed, more updated variations of classification. National tariff line data is indeed more detailed, but can only be compared with caution between countries, because the products could be different and you need to keep track of that. Next step in Trademap and using Trademap is analyzing demand for your product. In the example today and also tomorrow, just for the consistency, we're going to stick with this example. We're going to be looking at the product 080440, otherwise known by us as fresh or dried avocado. So when I'm producing avocados, I have a lot of questions I need to find answer to before I actually make my export decision, before I find the appropriate market or the appropriate new market, and how to actually enter that market. Trademap can produce answers for some of these questions. So virtually almost all that can be answered with trade statistics. Today, we're going to answer some of them, and I again invite you to look into other tabs of Trademap that we are not covering today. So, once we actually fill in our request for fresh or dried avocados from exporting from Kenya, this would be the result. I'll show you how it's done. And once you get this result in Trademap, you can see that I'm already signed in as me, like this is my name, and you can see that I have been logged in. Then you can once again see the request that you have filled in the homepage for the fresh or dried avocados from Kenya, and we're looking at the export. We're in trade indicators tab. We're looking in by country information. We are looking at the direct data flows. So here is the result. I will give you my take on how it is useful to read this result to drive your analysis. And that is the following, is to split it in 3 different parts. First is the static indicators, their market size. Then the third part is the dynamic indicators, the indicators that change over time for not only, that represent the change over time, not only driven by your market or your product, but also by other countries. And the third part of the indicators is the competitiveness indicators. So now I'm gonna take you step by step through these 3 groups of indicators, briefly explaining what they represent, and in interpreting like your basic results about your product in your country. These is the group of the static indicators, the indicators of the market size. So here you can see how they are broken down in the 3 groups that I was talking here before. So the first group are, sorry, so I forgot to tell you. The results that you get here based on your request can differ. It can differ if, so these are the predetermined indicators that you get on Trademark. Once you are acquainted with what these indicators actually show you and how to use them, I would invite you again, and that's covered in some of our tutorials in YouTube, to select your own indicator. Like if you click this tab here, this one, you get access to this additional functionality of Trademark that allows you to look into other types of information that you may need for your trade analysis. For example, in the predetermined result that you get in Trademark, you do not get information on the tariff phase applied, or you don't get CO2 emissions, which is a very important information for in the current day and age, is a type of information that many of us may prefer to add to our trade analysis. So going back to the market size indicators, as I was saying, they are concentrated in the beginning of the table. And without regarding into which countries we're looking at, we're just going to go through what are these indicators by themselves. The sorting right now happens through the first column, the one that is highlighted in yellow and has the little arrow, and the value, as I was saying, value exported in dollars, in thousands of American dollars, or volume can be your ways of how determining who is the biggest exporter or importer on the market. Trade balance can give you information about the biggest net exporters or net importers. Swift reminder, trade balance is the exports minus imports. And then another information that you also have in the market size group of indicators is the unit value. Unit value, sometimes we're tempted to use it as the measure of price of the product. That is not. It's the average price of exports, and therefore it is not the price of the product that is paid by the consumer. It's it's a statistical tool that is useful for different calculations that you can be prompted to do, and it covers inside it information about the quality of the product. Therefore, it's not the price of the product; it's the average price of exports. These are the indicators that you can use to talk about the market size, talk about the demand for your particular product, and who is the top exporter, top importer of your product. Things to remember when looking into the basic static information in Trademark is that you have to be signed in to get information about to get access to detailed information in Trademark. Do not interpret unit value as the price, check for metadata, and make the difference between the biggest export destination, biggest net export destination for different types of analysis. That could be different motivations that you're following when constructing your trade analysis. The last part before we head to the live demo is the assessing the target market. So if in the first pane, we looked at the static information about driven just by the Kenyan export of the product to importers of the Kenyan product. Now we go to this whole second and this whole big bit of the table that is that represents dynamic changes. So the 3 growth rates that are given to you by default by the Trademark results are ultimately the same. They are the growth rates, but between different years. One of them will look into the 5-year average growth rate. Another one will look at the different there could be different types of growth rates. So one of them will look into the 5-year average growth rate. The other one will be the 2-year average growth rate. And also we can look, as I was saying, into the the growth in the exported volume versus the growth in the exported value. The reason you have 3 different growth rates is to really look at how, what is the true dynamic of the market. Is it that we've been growing on average for the past 5 years, but the last 2 years, the growth has been stagnant? Or it could be different, that overall, the average value of growth for the past 5 years was 0, as you can see here. But the market is actually shrinking if we look into the more recent indicator of the growth, for the last 2 years, and also the volume growth rate. So the volume of avocados exported to this country has been growing. Has been decreasing, sorry. And also here we can see that the average 5-year growth rate was 6%, whereas over the past 2 years, the export to this market were 22%, which is very high. And we can say that this market has been growing fast recently, but as the overall, or as the 5-year growth rate is not as high, we don't know whether this growth is sustainable at such high rates. So look at these 3 different growth rates to give you an idea of the overall trend of growth trend of that market. If all of them are positive and high, as in the example of the first country, it means that the market is stably, rapidly growing, and we can assume that this growth will be, we can forecast that this growth will be maintained for the next year. Some color coding issues. So we are looking at this pane right now. And after the growth rates, we have information of ranking of partner countries in world imports. And that is the value based. Okay, so the first line was the world export. I beg your pardon for my mistake. We'll go through it with a live demo. So then we go into the ranking of partner countries in the world imports, and that's where the country pair is ranked as like the biggest country, the biggest pair trading globally, or not the biggest pair trading globally. We can also see how important this trade between these 2 countries is for the global world imports. So whoever is the first country, we can actually see that they represent 14% of the global trade of this product. So the last indicator in this bit is export growth rate, the total import growth in value of partner countries between. So this represents the growth rate of the overall global importing ability of other countries for this particular period. So globally, this market has been, for other countries, has been growing at 10%. So going to the competitiveness indicators, and I'll go very quickly through them, is we cover several kind of competitiveness indicators, which you're welcome to look into the metadata, how specifically they're calculated. Remember, I was saying that if you click on I, you get access to information about how this particular indicator was is produced, or where the data, in this particular, about the indicator. So the first one is the average distance between partner countries and all their supplying markets. So we can say that avocados travel far. Avocados travel for the top importers of Kenyan avocados over 8,000 miles, 8,000 kilometers. Excuse me for that slip. So the concentration parameter that we are presenting, the second here in this pane, is the Herfindahl index of concentration. While I'm not going to go into the calculation of this index, I will give you sort of a rule of thumb of how to interpret it. If there's only one importer, one supplier of this product to the country, then this value will be 1. If there's many different suppliers supplying this product, it will be 0. Any values in between represent that there's more than one supplier, and the rule of thumb that we recommend using is that if values are over 18%, then it means that the market is concentrated. So here, for the first 2 countries, you can see that the market is moderately concentrated, but then for the third and the fourth country, it's much more, it can be considered as concentrated. The next piece of information is we're looking at the average, we're providing information at the average tariff faced by Kenya. And as you can see, Kenyan avocados are facing 0 tariffs in all of these countries on their exports. The ease of doing business ranking comes from the World Bank. It's aimed to capture also institutional and legal environment of doing business in the countries and various other constraints. I advise you to look into the World Bank before you actually use these indicators for any kind of analysis. So quickly summarizing the 5 key takeaways, 5 key things to keep in mind from analyzing dynamic or competitive indicators in your Trademark search result is that dynamic indicators, like growth indicators, dynamic indicators need to be looked at in assembly together, the 3 different growth rates, and they can be used to show the forecast of what's happening in the next years, but they need to be looked at this together. The ranking can be used as to benchmark similar markets for your particular product. You can use Herfindahl index and also ease of doing business for competitiveness analysis, whereas again, I do advise you to read the World Bank methodology on ease of doing business before using it, and that is when okay, so sorry, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, I forgot to say 2 other things. The 2 other things which we may not have time to cover today in the live demo, but you will get this presentation, so you will be able to check it yourself, is the 2 features that I like the most in Trademark, actually, is 1, the ability to download the data to Excel. So in your search result over here, you actually have several different buttons, and one of them is Excel. You can also download it in Word. You can download your data and like create a small table for your report or something. Another very useful, very visual tool functionality that exists in Trademark is to be able to do a map of your data. So here again, we're looking at the generic search results in Trademark, and we see that there is a tab map. So for this same example with avocados from Kenya, we can see all the same numbers, and now we can also see the list of countries. Once we click on the tab, we actually go to map. And when you you see that you have a colorful representation of where Kenyan exports of avocados go. So you can see that the highest share of exports of avocados from Kenya go to Spain and France, and then like from 5 to 10% shares of Kenyan exports of avocados go to Russian Federation, Arab countries, also some of it to China, Australia. But I'm happy to know that my motherland, homeland, Russia, receives almost 10% of Kenyan exports of avocados. I can be assured that my compatriots are very happy about that. So just summarizing, there are several things that you can do today, and we're going to do it now in live demo. You can understand what Trademark is, for which purposes you actually use it. You can create a search and understand what are the results of the search that you have created. You can interpret some of the trade indicators. We do not have time to go into very detailed interpretation of the indicators. You can analyze your country's trade performance. You can extract the data and visualize it. So now off to the live demo. Please type in trademap.org if you have the ability to replicate what I'm going to be doing on the screen.
Sorry, Maria. Let's have like a 5-minute break. Maybe they have some question, and I can collect all the questions for this before starting the live demo.
Sure. Okay. Yes.
So if you have any question, go ahead. You can write on the chat or ask it live directly here.
Thank you very much, Maria, for the presentation. What we are very much interested in is if you can demonstrate also how you can get contacts of buyers. The contacts of buyers, you did, there's that icon there of companies, eh?
Yes.
Because most of the participants, our job is to create a list of buyers and how to get contacts of buyers. So it's very important that you guide them on how they can use trade maps to get the contacts of buyers. Thank you very much.
Okay, I have to say that this was not what I was thinking. As you can see, this was not what I was thinking of covering today, but I will be happy to cover it, and I can show you how to get the list of buyers in Trademark. I'll cover it in the live demo. I'm noting it down. Any other wishes for the live demo to concentrate on?
Good morning.
Good morning.
On the same point, because my query was on the same as Mr. Tumbo, concerning the companies. Are they verified, the buyers? Do you verify them?
So regarding the company data, most of the data in Trademark that we're getting actually comes from Compass and Dun and Bradstreet dataset. So it's not verified by us. It's actually a third-party provider of company data. We do, like, as a UN agency, we cannot be also doing this kind of activity. But also over the past couple of years, we've started working on having more detailed data sets from countries on exporting and importing companies, so that to actually have wider coverage than what we get from Compass and Dun & Bradstreet data set. In the company data tab, like in the detail that you get on the company data, quite often you have email addresses, you have websites, so you can actually click yourself or email them yourself and verify in a way yourself.
Okay, thank you.
Lydia, I believe this question came from Lydia. Sorry, Maria, for interrupting. Yes. So if I may elaborate on the company contact information, as Maria has correctly said, that we source the company contact information from two companies, Compass and Dun & Bradstreet. These two companies do perform the quality control themselves. And it is my understanding that they perform quality control once a year. Okay, they also provide the updated list, the most updated list to ITC once a year. So this company contact information is updated by ITC once a year. What do I mean by they do the quality control once a year? They do this by, first of all, they call the company to check if those companies are still in business. Then what you have to understand is that in terms of the different criteria that are available in the company contact information module, such as turnover, the number of employees, the list of products that they are trading, export or import or distribute, etc. These are based on voluntary basis. That means it's not verified by Dun & Bradstreet because they asked the company and company provide that to them. The only thing that Dun & Bradstreet and Compass check is whether or not this company is still in business and the contact information is correct or not. Other criteria are declared by the companies themselves. So I hope this is clear. And if you need any additional information, feel free to write it in the chat box and Adam and I will have a look at it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you for the info.
Okay, so unless there are very pressing questions right now, I would suggest we go to the live demo. And you're, as Pichai is saying, you are welcome to write your questions in the chat box, and then either my colleagues or I will answer to your question. Bear with me for a second while I'm starting to share the correct screen. So here I'm on the trademark.org. You can see that for the sake of time, I have already logged in. So to access the full functionality of Trademark, you need to actually, as I was saying, it's better to log in. You have to log in. So now we can choose, do we want to look at services or we want to look at the products? And as I was telling you today, we can look at avocados. We're looking at exports of avocados. There, I saw that in the chat box, there was a question about the HS codes. HS code is a sort of, it's a code attached to any kind of product that is being traded. And at the 6th digit, it's standardized globally, as I was saying, whereas the more details can differ in different countries. For example, I do not know what is the HS code for the avocado. Then I just type in avocado. And here I have different variations of what can be an avocado, what an avocado can be when it's traded internationally. I can also assess sorry, that was a bit too quick. So I can also click on advanced search and look at the hierarchy, for example. So see all the groups of possible products that are traded, or search by keyword. So again, avocado. And here I have the full name of the group, and then I can check the numbers. So today I will use this code, but we can also look into the other variations of groups that can be related with avocado. So the word avocado only actually exists in two different numbers, in two different HS codes. So the 4-digit and the 6-digit one. The 6-digit one is the one that we're going to be looking at. And I'm going back to the home and search tab, because I've remembered this code by heart now. I'm choosing the product that I want and the country that I want to look at. We're not going to be looking at Kazakhstan. We're going to be looking at Kenya. As I was saying, the moment I'm going to choose the country, I will have the option to look for the partner country for Kenya in this particular trade. I do not want to choose a partner country for this particular example. So as I was saying, today we're going to cover mainly trade indicators. I click on trade indicators. I give a couple of seconds for Trademark to upload the results from the database into and this is import, excuse me. So whenever so one thing I advise you, and I have to admit, I always do this mistake. I always choose something wrongly in the homepage. So always verify here at the top that you are doing the correct search. So here you can see that it's fresh and dried avocados, Kenya exports, trade indicators by country, direct data. Then going further into the table that I have already covered sort of with you in the presentation, we can see that Kenya is exporting, the key destination markets for Kenyan exports of avocados are Netherlands, France, and United Arab Emirates, and then further on and so on and so forth. Looking at the share of Kenyan trade exports, we can see that almost a quarter of Kenyan exports go to Netherlands, and then it's France, United Arab Emirates, Spain, United Kingdom. What I was showing you with the for the quantity unit for avocados, we are looking at the tons. That's how usually fruits are measured, and nuts. And then here we have the information on the unit value, but it should not be interpreted as the price that is paid by the customers. So, for example, here we can see that one thing that would be worthy to be investigated in your trade analysis is that United Kingdom, for example, has the unit value over $2,000 per ton of avocados, whereas Egypt actually has a much cheaper average price of exports of avocados. Does that mean that Egyptian customers pay less? Not necessary, because there could be other different fees that are attached to the unit value. As also I've covered in the presentation, there are different growth rates that we report. And here you can see that globally, the avocado market has been growing at over 10% per year over the last 5 years. And looking at the key destinations, so here, for you to see better, Netherlands, France, and United Arab Emirates, the key destinations of Kenyan exports of avocados, the first two, the Netherlands and France, have been growing much higher than the United Arab Emirates. Therefore, we can forecast that we can look into the situation and probably forecast that the growth at the United Arab Emirates market will not be as high as in the French or Dutch market. Then you can also see the importance of this specific country pair for the global trade of avocados. And you can see that Netherlands here is one of the top, so the pair Kenya-Netherlands is one of the key links in the global trade of the avocado trade. And that is expected because Netherlands, once you actually start looking deeper in the trade analysis, you can find out that Netherlands is one of the import hubs for the European Union, and therefore a lot of these like exports can be further sold to other markets. So as I was saying, avocados travel far. The average distance between the avocados that come to Netherlands is actually over 8,000 kilometers, and then like the furthest average distance is to Singapore, but Singapore is still a rather important market for Kenyan avocados, constituting to over 1%, but over 1% of exports, but still being over $1 million in the trade of them has been over $1 million. So the other, excuse me, I need to change something. So the last group of indicators that I was covering is the competitiveness indicators, and here we can see that in the top 5 destinations, here, the top 5 destinations, the most concentrated market where Kenyan avocados go is the United Arab Emirates, with the Herfindahl index, so the concentration index of suppliers being over 30%. So then we can look into what are the specificities of the imports of avocados to United Arab Emirates. So this is the market that has been decreasing as a destination, has not been growing, has not been growing as a destination for Kenyan avocados. And here we can see that Kenya is the top supplier for avocados in United Arab Emirates. So half of avocados imported to United Arab Emirates are actually coming from Kenya. But then we can, as we already have seen, the numbers are the same as in the previous tab. These exports are not growing, whereas the exports that are the imports to the United Arab Emirates that are growing are the imports from Netherlands and Mexico. So we can see, here is the Mexico. So we can see that there are other, and South Africa. So we can see that the competition at this market that Kenya is facing is actually increasing over time. And if we look into the into the comparison between the 5-year average and the 2-year average, we see that it's still very high. So all of them are positive, well, except of South Africa, but it was a very high value from the beginning. So going back to our Kenya export analysis, the next thing I wanted to show you is that you can always look into the more detailed information for the bilateral trade. So remember, as I was saying, that trade indicators are available at the HS6 level. For the national tariff lines, for the more detailed information, you can only access the time series information. So we do not have these sort of this handbook that you get in the trade indicators tab. Same you can do for France. So here in the first column, like if you click on this small plus, you actually get to the time series for the French market. You can choose here how many years. And okay, so unfortunately, we do not have much, we do not have high coverage of the, in this particular revision. We'll need to look into that. So I would rather go into the company data then. And as I have not looked into that, we may have some technical issues for checking for which markets we have data. And to actually, that will be a good example to talk about. So the first thing, you cannot access company data unless you're logged in. If you're having issues accessing company data, that's probably because over here, you do not see your name or like your organization's login, and that's why you don't have access. The next thing you can do, you can look at the data availability. Do we cover that specific country as with our company, in this particular case, company data? So here is the list of the countries where we do have some information. It depends on country to country how detailed this information is. But we have over 180, so we have 183 countries where we're available. So for example, here I find that Netherlands, the top market for Kenyan exports of avocados is there. So now I know that when I'm going to click at Netherlands, I will have information on the companies. Okay, so we go into the companies tab. And it doesn't work, just a second. Okay, it works. Why am I in the United Arab Emirates? Beg your pardon. This should be Netherlands. And it takes a bit of a moment to update information. So be patient with Trademark. The data calls here into Geneva and then comes back. And so here we have the list of importing companies in Netherlands, broken down by product categories for these products. And as you can see, there's other product categories that the company has been registered to be importing. The way we code it is that company has the key category that it is importing, and then also it could cover others. So for example, we would go into fruit, tropical and subtropical. I don't know what's going to happen right now. A second. Okay, so here is the list of companies. Here is the information that Lydia and Charles, if I remember correctly, were asking me to look into that. So here is the list of companies in Netherlands that are importing avocados. The key category for this product, for these companies, is fruit, tropical and subtropical, but they have been associated also with importing fresh or dried avocados. And as I was saying, and as the chair has also said, so Compass and Dun & Bradstreet, the companies do verify their company information. They verify it yearly. You can verify it yourself here through the hyperlink, or you can, for example, link at Baalbaki Holland, and you can have more detailed information on these company. You can even have the phone number of this company. You can have the name of the executive. Usually it's the sales executive. And here, as I was saying, these are the different kinds of products that this company is importing. And one of them is actually avocados. That's why we were able to follow this, to get to this company in our search, going as Kenya, avocados, Netherlands companies. I would so once you get access to this information, I would be really happy to know if when you make contact, you actually will get in touch and hopefully get a new contract and even higher sale of Kenyan avocados in Netherlands. You can also look into the less popular markets for the company data. So for example, here, let's look into my home country, Russian Federation. And you will also have information on companies that are importing different products in this country. Here, for example, groceries and related products. Obviously, it's not as vast as in Netherlands. That is one of the top importers of Kenyan avocados all over the world. And here you again have information about the company. You can assess the size of the company. You can also look at the at where it is based. You can click and find all this information. Unfortunately, not in this particular case, the company opted out of providing its phone number or website, but you still have the information about the name of the company, and you can you can try finding it in this specific location. So at this point, I would open the floor to the questions, and I would be happy to answer any other questions that we have received in the chat box. Maybe there are many other functionalities in Trademark that we are not covering today. What I've covered today is how to do a basic trade analysis, how to approach a basic trade analysis with a trade map search, where to find the data, what kind of data you are seeing when you're looking at the search results in trade map. And as per your request, we've also looked a little bit into the company data information that is provided in Trademark. Any other? Feel free to unmute your microphone and ask your question. We can look into a sale of another product. I would be happy to have a coffee now. I feel really motivated to look into a sale of coffee, for example. I can do that. Yes, Lydia, I'm listening.
It's Lydia again. Huh?
Yes.
Could you kindly assist me with the product, the aloe vera, especially the value added aloe vera?
Okay, I have to confess, I have not yet ever looked at the trade of aloe vera, so it's going to be my first. And I'm actually very excited to look into that. So first and foremost, as I was saying, we need to find whether we at all have. So I'm having a blank screen on my search. And now, first and foremost, we need to assess whether we have at all information on aloe vera, or in which form we actually have information on aloe vera. And you can see that we do not have a specific product that is called aloe at the HS6 level. So the way I would assess it, being the first time ever searcher for aloe vera, first and foremost, I will look at the tariff line classification and look for the same word. And here you can see that many different countries are trading aloe in different forms. Because I am not expert on aloe, let's look in Qatar, for example. So Qatar this should be higher value added forms of aloe, so extracts of aloe, so not the plant itself. But then also, actually, for me personally, that would be very interesting to see which other modifications of aloe vera are traded at the national tariff line. That can give you an idea of what are the different marketing routes of aloe vera that are being consumed by countries. So here we're looking at the Qatar and the appropriate HS code for this product of the higher value added, I think it is higher value added extracts of aloe is 1302-1940. Then you're facing a dilemma of looking at into this national tariff line, and this is what I'm gonna do. And because we're looking, as I can gather, at the Kenyan exports, so I need to look at the imports of Qatar of this product. As I was saying, this is a trade-off. The moment we're looking at the national tariff line, we know for sure what we're looking at, but we do not have access to trade indicators. So what I would do, I would create another tab in Trademark. So yeah, okay, so first, I forgot that we cannot do it. Okay, so the first thing I would do, I would look at the 1302-19 as the HS code of 1302, and I already forgot what it was, 19. So we will look at the HS code, HS6 code of, why is it, 1302-19. 1302-19. So this is a bigger group. This is a subheading, but here you actually get the tab of the trade indicators. Imports of Qatar of this particular product, and we want it not by product, but by country. So here we can see that this slightly bigger group that we're looking at is being imported by Qatar from these various destinations: Jordan, Lebanon, Turkey, Oman, Syrian Republic, Kuwait. Kenya is not yet one of those countries that are that is present in this group. Then I will perform the sort of this import trade analysis on the side of Qatar, as I have identified if I'm looking at that specific product, based on the same logic that I have presented to you in the presentation. So I would look at the current situation, I would look at the dynamics, and I would look at the competitiveness indicator. So here you can see that the Jordan is basically the biggest supplier for this group to Qatar, and therefore I need to maybe pay more attention to this very important country pair. And this is what I was saying, when you then, once you perform the analysis on the HS6 level, then you go into the national tariff line. Here you have Qatar, then you choose the partner country, Jordan. Sorry, I have to repeat the exercise that I've just done. So we are looking at the trade of this, exactly the product that we're looking at. We already know the market that we're looking at. Now we already know that the one of the key suppliers is Jordan. So I'm typing in Jordan, and I can assess this information. So yearly, quarterly, and monthly sales and information. Yearly, quarterly, and monthly trade of this particular product. So I can have already like more detailed information also if I want to. I can build historical data. Okay, so here, unfortunately, I haven't checked, and we don't have quarterly data for this specific period. Let me check into the monthly. Okay, so unfortunately, Qatar, we don't have monthly data, so we have to stick to the yearly data. And so in this manner, I would go through all the future competitors of Kenya in the Qatari market. And
Maria, if I may make suggestion, regarding Lydia's question for the aloe product. So what you did was excellent in terms of finding the right HS code. So when you saw that 130219, the first 6 digit, which is internationalized, the standardized one, could represent the aloe vera extract. So if you go back to home page and then you type 130219 at HS 6 digit level, you did the right thing to use the advanced search. You select that, correct. And then you remove the countries because you would like to investigate the overall market, the global demand, because you're Kenyan exporter of a product. You don't have a destination market in mind yet, and you would like to know about all different types of markets. So then you click on trade indicators. And another thing to consider, if you click on the code, please, 130219 in the code, the link. So we here to in the table, if you click on the bright blue link, clickable link in the table, when you see this short table is because this code has gone through the revision. And Maria has already kindly explained about the revision, so we're not going to go back there. What we're trying to understand is the global market for this particular product. And when you read this, the product code 130219, vegetable saps and extract. This means that aloe vera is not the only product, the only extract that is in this code. We're talking about a basket of different products within the same code. What we know is that aloe vera is a part in this particular product basket. So in terms of the importers of this vegetable saps, the biggest importer, of course, is the US, followed by Germany, Korea, France, and Japan. What I can deduce from this, it seems to be the country that actually produce a lot of health or cosmetic using the byproducts based on plants, etc., which is good for us. But we have to understand again, once again, that aloe vera is only a part of this particular product code. And in order for us to see only aloe vera specific extract, these might be identifiable at the national tariff line level that Maria showed you. For example, Qatar has a specific code for aloe vera only. This is great, but might not be the same thing for every country. So for example, Maria, if you click United States of America or Korea, one of them, and then what we will get here is that we get the list of suppliers to the US market. However, what I'm interested in is whether or not the US has a national tariff line for aloe vera. So what I would do is at the top of the table, if you go back to the combo box, you select by product. The way by product, if you just go out, and then there's the drop down menu. Instead of by country, you choose by product to have a full description. And you see that this product has been revised. So you click again on 130219 to confirm. Again, by product. Voila.
Yeah.
So you see that here in the US, if you read at the description, you see that there's ginseng root, poppy, cashew nut, cashew, ginseng, etc. So when it's not clear which one is the aloe vera, it means that aloe vera actually go into the miscellaneous, potentially miscellaneous, etc. Like the top one, which is also the biggest one, other vegetable saps and extract, not elsewhere specified, etc. So this is the code. However, you cannot be sure that this is the figures that represents aloe vera, and this is the where it becomes a little complicated. It's just code dedicated to it. You always have to bear this assumption that you're actually analyzing different vegetable saps and extract, not only aloe vera, unless the market that you have identified actually have a national tariff line like Qatar, then you will be able to see the actual demand. So Maria, if you would please switch from United States, from combo box to Qatar, maybe we'll be able to see the demand of aloe vera there.
Yep. So maybe I can also comment on that.
Certainly, Charles.
Yeah. So when we should understand aloe, and for your information, there are about 300 species of aloe. So vera is just one of the species. In Kenya, we have aloe seconifera and aloe barbadensis. Vera is very much common in South America. They're the ones who produce it. They've perfected it, and they've perfected the marketing. So the whole world just says aloe vera.
Mm-hmm.
It's very important just to know exactly what type of aloe that you're exporting. So in Kenya, we have two, just as I mentioned, seconifera and barbadensis. And you just have to be, just as she has explained, you're more comfortable at the category, the vegetable saps extracts. And maybe you might get a buyer, maybe in Qatar, who is requesting for aloe vera. Now, when you're in Kenya, you have to be very careful to ensure that the product that you are going to export to that country is vera. And maybe Lydia will talk later. I'll guide you on how to get the scientific species and categorizations of the aloes in Kenya. So at the moment from today, don't be saying aloe vera. Just say aloe, you're more comfortable there. Thank you very much. I submit.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Charles. And also another thing is that if it's in the form of aloe extract, the saps, of course, it will go into this code. But if it has been transformed into something else, such as essential oil, etc., it will go in a different code. So it's also the state in which the product is as well that determine the HS code. So I will leave the floor back to Maria, Lydia, to continue the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Picha. Actually, the challenge we are facing for the exporters is the last point you have mentioned, the one that they do value addition for the aloe extracts that become topical or medicinal. Now the challenge comes to HS code. But as Mr. Tumbo has said, I'm going to talk to him later about concerning the same.
So I would like to point out that what all of the speakers, Charles, Pichai, and Lydia, have been hinting to, or have been discussing, sorry, and that in the value chain analysis, it's very important to understand the transformation steps of the product and how the HS codes are being transformed. So as Charles and Pichai were saying, that the transformation into essential oil would actually make it into the group of essential oils, and it's not necessary that there will be a word aloe. Like what I did right now, never looking into trade of alloy before. It was like sort of the first step to just like see if alloy is traded. But indeed, and I would guess that Charles and Lydia will guide you more on that. That when you're looking at the products that you're making from alloy, or particular sale of alloy vera, but like we're talking about the products, you can be looking at the different groups which will not have the word alloy in them, but have the word essential oil or natural oil, or one of the popular alloy products is actually water, the sugary drink. I really like it, actually, I have to confess. So combining this sort of trade analysis that you are doing here is essential. It's essential to combine this trade analysis and trade map that you're doing with the product modification analysis. And I can admit my mistake that I did not follow my own advice. I did not check for the revision of the codes. And thank you so much, Pichaya, for finding out why I was struggling. So always check for the revisions of any code that you're looking at. And at this, I would, because we're already running out of time from my understanding, I would stop sharing my screen. Please remember that you can always send your request to marketanalysis@intrasend.org, and we will try to help you with the query that you will address to us. Otherwise, if I'm not mistaken, Pichaya, we have like a closing word, or how do we transfer?
We don't have any closing words, but I would like to leave the participants with the fact that there's no way we can train you on Trademark within 1 hour. What we're trying to do today is to introduce you to Trademark and allows you a quick overview of the tools. And hopefully we have tempted the Trademark yourself. And if you face any question, we're here for you. You can write that at marketanalysis@intrasend.org. I think Trademark is best in terms of learning by particular webinar. The video tutorials that are available on YouTube. If there's a project or opportunity, we will be in Nairobi to train you time. It's a pleasure to meet you today. And see you again tomorrow for Market Access Map session. Thank you, Maria and Adam, Charles, Lydia, and others who have submitted questions, who have participated in this. We hope that it's been useful for you. And bye, take care. See you tomorrow.
Bye, take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.